obviously, the big story this week with Carson being benched for Jalen, and my question is more about the forward with looking forward with Carson. Um, how can you guys get him back to playing the way he was previously? And do you feel like you're the guy to do that?
Yeah. That's a great question. I feel like, as an offense, obviously we've underachieved this season to this point. There's still games left. We're still got a lot of fight left in us. And we're excited about moving forward and seeing where we're at there. I do feel like Carson and I have a great relationship. I feel like I understand his game very well. I feel like I understand, kind of the situations as a whole that we've gone through as an offense right here, and ways to help him, ways to help our offense, ways to improve upon myself is the way I coach him, as well as I'm an intricate part of this offense of the coaching staff around here moving forward and what we can do to improve things and get going on the right track.
And how do you fix him?
Well, I wouldn't say that he needs to be fixed in the sense he's a broken quarterback. I wouldn't say that at all. I would say, as the offense improves around him, and, obviously he's a portion of that, but there's a lot of people that are a portion of that. We all have our hand in this thing, and the fact we've underachieved falls on every single one of us. And, we can improve everything around him, as well as him improving his game, as well as us as a coaching staff improving the way we approach everything moving forward too.
Go ahead, John, and then Bo.
Hi, Press. Obviously, it's a difficult situation, I imagine, for any quarterback to get benched. How has Carson responded in practice, and what have you seen from him just from that mental standpoint?
Carson has been an absolute pro. He's done everything we've expected of him in this situation. He's doing everything he can, like he always has, to help the team win this week. Whether the role changes or not, the approach across the board within the organization has always been to win. And I think everybody's continuing to try to do that and, achieve what they need to do to put us in that position, I think has been the goal across everybody. And I think Carson's no different. He's done everything expected of him. He's been a phenomenal teammate this week. And, he will continue to be a part of this thing moving forward.
Go ahead, Bo, and then Ruben.
Russ, back when, Carson got hurt in 2017, there was the stories of you guys looking back on Nick's old career and, the type of plays that had worked for him. Was there a similar process this week with Jalen? Were you going back to his college stuff to try to figure out some things you could add to the offense for him as the quarterback?
Certainly, and that's something I like to think we do with really all of our new guys that we've added. You want to really learn their strengths, so a lot of that's evaluating the things they've done well in their past and what that looks like and how that fits our offense. We're not going to obviously completely reinvent ourselves within a week, but we're going to grab from the playbook already that Jalen has time on task with that we feel like really fits his strength, and as well as the guys around him. But a lot of times your quarterback's playing well, your offense can play well. The 10 other guys feed off that, so that's something we're going to try to do.
Will the offense look different to us, to the layperson this week than it has the most of the season?
Oh, there may be some certain things show up, but, for the most part, our playbook is pretty expansive. It may be things you've seen at some point in time. They may look a little different. A lot of times we try to add some eye candy to a lot of core concepts that everybody around has had a lot of experience with.
Ruben and then Dave.
Hey, Press. I understand what you're saying about the coaches have to be better and everybody around Carson has to be better and all that. But once the season's over in a few weeks, he's going to be on his own really for quite a long time until hopefully there's mini camps and stuff. What does he need to do during that period to attack, his deficiencies?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, like anybody, it's you take a lot of ownership or you take a review of the season, essentially. What happened? How did I play? Why did I play this certain way? And you really have to spend some time in self-evaluation. And I think that's everybody. And a lot of us, we'll do a really peer evaluation as well. He and I will sit, have exit interviews. He and Coach Peterson will sit, just like Coach does with all of us, and kind of, you kind of review it with somebody else, get somebody else's perspective on the situation, where your strengths, where your weaknesses are. But I think a lot of it, you have to kind of self-internalize a lot of things. I'll do that myself as a coach, and a lot of guys continue to do that, and we do that as an offense as a whole and see where we're at and what we can do moving forward. And then you set together kind of your action plan of how you're going to go about accomplishing those things.
Dave, and then Martin.
Hi, Press. It's been suggested by some outside the building that your relationship with Carson might actually be too close. It might be too friendly. How would you characterize your relationship with him, and do you feel like you coach him hard enough?
Yeah, I feel like Carson and I have a great working relationship, and I feel like, knowing each other as well as we do, having been here, every day that Carson's been a part of this organization, I feel like I know his game very well. I know his personality very well, and I think a lot of that helps. I think you can really push somebody when you have that trust level with somebody. I think there's going to be tough conversations that you can have because you have a close relationship, but I think that can really draw a lot out of the same people, and to continue with that, we've been around each other since the beginning. I've seen the way he was coached by other coaches. I was in the meeting room the whole time that's gone on. The guys that I feel like he really gleaned a lot from. I feel like I kind of know the way they approach that and what really pushed him and drove him and helped him, and that's always been the goal. And that's something I'll continue to look at in myself. But I think when I leave here every single day, at the end of the day, I feel good about the work I put into my job and my craft, and doing everything I can, like I mentioned earlier, to help the Eagles win every Sunday.
Martin, and then Zach.
Hey, Press. Where have you seen Jalen Hurts improve the most since you got him? And do you think, as far as what he's done so far this season, that he's actually ready to step in? I mean, more so than the fact that, Carson is being set down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Jalen has really grown. I think a lot of things, you see these guys play a lot faster, especially from the quarterback position, as they grow and they learn and they understand the offense and they hear the way we're coaching a certain route, what to expect with guys. It's one thing to walk out on the field and throw a corner route, but it's another thing to talk about how the guy's going to run it versus certain leverage, how Greg Ward runs a corner route versus Alshon Jeffrey running a corner route. Guys are different. And now that you kind of get more and more reps with those individuals, you see a little bit more, so you can trust things a little bit more. You maybe cut the ball loose a little a half second quicker because you have that chemistry, that relationship, that understanding of something, and you're seeing things the same way. So I think as his overall knowledge of what we're doing and the details of it has improved, you've seen him improve, and you see him to kind of just continue to come out of his skin a little, or be a little more comfortable, I guess, in his own skin right there.
Zach, and then Les.
Hey, Press, good to talk to you. Circling back to Jeff's question, you disagreed with the term broken. Semantics aside, though, when we spoke to you during the bye week, you shared a similar sentiment about Carson than you did today. But in those 4 games since, obviously, you've lost 4 games. Offense hasn't scored more than 17 points. What changed, if anything, did you guys try to do after the bye week to fix him? Or was it just hoping that he would return to the Carson you saw before?
No, I think it's continuing to build a plan that puts your quarterback in the best possible position, whether it was reviewing what we did. Now, the way a game takes place, sometimes you get away from maybe what you intended to get to. Some of the play calls, some of the situations you get to maybe don't reveal himself, or they reveal himself later in the game when the situation is different. So there were certainly things that, I feel like the game plan was built to put, obviously, our quarterback in a great position, but put our offense in a great position. Whether we achieved that or did not because of various situations. Every situation changes. It's always different. The circumstances are always different each game. So that's a tough. I think it's a tough answer of why it went away from how we expected it to go. But obviously we all take ownership that we have not achieved, especially the last 4 weeks, the way we intended to, and that's on every single one of us. And everybody's got to look inside and see what happened from their aspect of it, but as a whole. And we'll continue to do that. And again, we have 4 weeks left. We're excited to continue to move forward with both these guys and really all of our players. Continue to develop them, try to get the best out of them, put them in the best possible situation. That's our goal as coaches.
Les, and then Chris.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask pretty much the same thing, but I'll ask this instead. So you've been here since the beginning with Carson, and you've seen initially as the wide receivers coach, how he's been coached. Is it any different now than it was when he was playing really well? Can you identify any differences there in the coaching?
Obviously my voice, I would say, sounds different than, say, Frank or Coach DiFilippo. But I don't think, in terms of the approach, the attention to detail, the way we coach certain things, demand certain things out of our quarterback, having been in the meeting room and there's not a lot of us that have been in the meeting room all the time and truly see how you coach somebody other than really kind of myself, Coach Peterson, and probably Nate. The four of us with Carson have been in there the most times together and truly see how we're coached, the standard we try to hold as a unit. And so, anything outside of that, I don't really concern myself with too much.
All right.
Chris and then Mike.
Hey, Press, in your opinion, this question, when it comes to what makes a successful play caller, what are some of the traits that some of the successful play callers, in your opinion, that makes them so successful? And then also, do you feel like you have some of those traits to do that if when called upon to do that?
Right. I think obviously a like-mindedness with the quarterback is a big part of that. You guys are kind of anticipating where you're playing because I think, a lot of times you're calling plays based on situational awareness and understanding what tendencies are of a defense in this certain situation, or something we really have talked about being aggressive or being conservative in a certain area of the field, but your quarterback understanding that as well. You don't always call a play that's going to hit against the defense you expect it to be, and you expect your quarterback or your guys around you as a whole to kind of make things right. If there's 65 plays in a game, which is somewhere around the average, you're hoping to hit the right call against the right thing maybe half the time. Other times it's going to be adjustments. It's going to be what's your contingency plan for certain calls. So I think that is where the communication aspect between quarterback, play caller, the offense understanding how you train guys, I think that's a big portion of it. I think there's a big part that's a feel for the game. There's certain things where you want to get to certain calls, but the game's going a certain way based on an injury to somebody, the way the defense is playing you versus what you planned on, and being able to adjust on the fly, and really with the ability to communicate that throughout the offensive staff and guys on the sideline. I think that's a big part of making in-game adjustments, halftime adjustments, whatever that may be. So there's a certain feel for the game. There's a communication aspect, a chemistry aspect that I think relies on the play caller and the quarterback, but the offense as a whole. And I feel like those are, that's something I continue to try to work on my own to make sure I'm developing that craft. But I feel confident that I'm prepared for that opportunity whenever that comes.
We'll wrap it up with Mike and then EJ.
Hey, Press, I had two questions for you about Nate Sudfeld. You've had him for 4 years. I'm just curious, we don't get to see him on the field, obviously, but what is it that you're most proud of that tenure, what success he's had? Because he has been passed over for the backup quarterback job multiple times. And then, he's working with the coaching staff pretty often. Do you see coaching in his future?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of quarterbacks, I think it'd be easy to say you see coaching in their future. They're kind of involved in it to a different level. In the game planning aspect, the play calling like we were talking about. And you see that from Nate. You kind of see that obsession with the game. He's watching a lot of football. He asks a lot of great questions. He's been here kind of since towards the beginning of this system we've built. And so he knows a lot of the details. He's able to help us with a lot of certain things as well. Really, I'm probably just most proud of the maturity Nate has shown in his game. I think we see it obviously a lot more in practice than you guys have had access to, especially this season. But I think there's been a true growth in his game of understanding things and understanding the people around him and how to elevate everybody else's play within an offense. And I think when Nate's opportunity comes, he's really going to shine.
Go ahead, EJ.
Hey, Press. There have been some outside evaluations of Carson's mechanics and fundamentals and how he's throwing. I'm wondering what you guys think of his mechanics in the building, and if that is maybe contributing to some of his inaccuracies, and if that's something you guys can work on now that he's not the starter.
Yeah, I think there's certain things that we really want to be aware of and we really try to hammer in on to make sure that, as he gets in the fire and the bullets are flying, that he's falling back on the things that we've worked on and the things that we've spent a lot of time on. There's certain situations where that's really good. There's certain situations where that, like any position on the field, where, some things come up and you want to make sure you iron them out immediately. You talk through them, you work through them, you show what we expect, what it looks like, what it's been, what we've practiced, certain things like that. And I think that's something that we always continue to try to hone in on. Obviously, the off seasons where you get a lot of time to really, really dive into that individual work with somebody, but it's something I think, especially from the quarterback position, you have to be aware of. You have to push, you have to harp on, you have to be detailed in your work and your approach about those things.